It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book. Happy Tuesday. Happy Monday for our show. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is here. Good morning.
Good morning, indeed. Yesterday was one of the best sports days I've had in a long time. Not from a betting standpoint. It was so exciting watching all these playoff games.
Well, you had VGK opening there. The only road team to take game one in either the NBA or the NHL playoffs. How about that? That's totally insane. 15-1 in game one straight up. Home teams were until Vegas KO'd Dallas last night, and what was a really bonko start to the game that somehow only landed 4-3.
Right.
After the chaos early in that game. We'll get to that in our starting five. But before we get to our starting five, I just want to bring something up that happened with us over the weekend. Our bosses,
Yes.
Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews, threw out the first pitch at the we'll call them the Las Vegas Gamblers on Saturday up at Las Vegas Ballpark. Frank and I caught the pitches. By the way, shout out to Vinny, who just threw a humdinger right in there for strike one on Saturday night. But just want to thank everyone up at Las Vegas Ballpark. You obviously are a part of the flight crew up there. You were in action on Saturday as well. Ryan and also work up there as well, and to Gary, everyone, and Don Logan, the owner of the club as well, to everyone involved. Just A+ operation. We were welcomed wonderfully, and can't wait to be back.
So probably a good thing, right? Because I took myself out because Jimmy was supposed to be there as well. Yeah. We missed him there, but I said, okay, you and Frank catch the first pitches. Probably a good thing, right? With Vinny.
Well, Frank forgot his glove. So he had to take the bullpen catcher's glove, and he had a very, very precise instructions of don't damage the glove, which would have been hard for Frank to have damaged the glove. But, hey, no bouncing of the pitches.
No.
Chris threw a good one as well. What was that, Ann? Oh, yeah, let's do the video. Awesome, man. We have video on it. I totally forgot that we had the video. Here we go. Look at this. There's Chris's pitch, and Vinny half second later, strike one. Look at that. Just unbelievable from Vinny. Great from Chris, too. I mean, look, Alex, I have you ever thrown out a ceremony of first pitch?
I have not. That is one thing I haven't done.
I did it once at Mizzou, and the guy before me bounced his. So I was like, I cannot bounce mine. And I almost airmailed the catcher. Mine was closer to Chris's than Vinny's. Vinny's was legitimately strike one.
But
right
did
down
you go
the pipe.
from the mound?
I did go from the mound that day. But
very good.
We were instructed not to get anywhere near the plate for that one.
Yes.
Because we couldn't damage the batter's box.
Correct.
So
having two at once, yes.
Yeah, so
I would definitely go in front of the mound.
Well, I think hopefully, Alex, you, me, and Frank will throw out a first pitch later this season. We will definitely be going from in front of the mound for that. All right, let's get to our actual starting five here. And Alex, boy, well, the Cleveland Magic game was not equal to the other two last night. Cleveland takes care of Orlando 96-86. That series has really just been a dud so far, with Cleveland winning without either team getting to 100 in the first two games.
Your bad karma is not playing off just yet in this round.
That series is just bad karma with how it's been played so far. Hey, Orlando goes home. Maybe they'll win game 3 and 4, and it gets interesting. But Alex White, the home teams moved to 11-0 after the two other games last night at home through the first 11 NBA playoff games. The Knicks, down 5 with 25 seconds left, win in regulation. A crazy sequence at the end where Jalen Brunson gets a 3 to bounce in, and then chaos ensues. Sixers wanted a foul. Nick Nurse was – I actually don't have a problem with him not giving him the timeout. I thought he was indecisive, and in the second one, Maxey didn't even have the ball anymore. DiVincenzo hits a 3. The Knicks come from behind, shock Philadelphia, go up 2-0. Great for my Knicks bet for the series. And then the other one, Jamal Murray at the buzzer. Denver down as much as 20 against the Lakers, and the Nuggets have a 2-0 lead. And the Lakers just cannot beat the Nuggets 0 out of their last 10 against Denver now.
Brutal for them, especially the performance that we see from LeBron James stepping up to try and beat this Nuggets team, not getting much support there. But, yeah, you got to give it to Denver. They never gave up. Jamal Murray had 20 points in that game. 14 came in the fourth period when he finally started to get hot. And then, of course, he had that buzzer beater there. But it's been a lot of fun. We'll also recap the home team's favorites and the totals, because we've had a lot of unders, and especially if you're looking at first halves too, it's just been a trend that's been going on. But for now, we're going to number 2, and we're looking at today's games where we have 3 of them on the board in the NBA. Very small spread here. Largest favorite, 3-point favorite tonight. So it should be this should be a great night as well. 3 good games.
Minnesota, 3 against Phoenix. Milwaukee, 1 against Indiana. Dallas, 1.5 against the Clippers. We'll give you all the updates on those games and the series prices as well, because Indiana is still not even at the price that they opened at some books, even down 1-0, which is very interesting to see. Still no respect given to Dame Lillard after he looked like Portland Dame in Game 1 for the Milwaukee Bucks. Number 3, the NHL. Looking at the games that have already happened, we already talked about it. Home teams have been awesome straight up so far. And last night, it looked like we were going to have a few road teams win, but the Islanders blow a 3-0 lead to Carolina. Carolina comes back, forget winning the game. They covered the puck line, winning 5-3. That's a brutal one of you, the Islanders, in any fashion yesterday. And the Isles, who have been the better team than the Hurricanes in probably 4.5 periods out of 6 so far, are down 2-0 going back to Elmont later this week. Maple Leafs win on the road to even that series is 1. We'll have a conversation about Boston later in the show because they're doing what they didn't do last year, and I'm not sure that's the right idea with their goaltending. Oilers put a touchdown up on the Kings in a 7-4 win, and then Vegas, in what was an absolutely insane start to the game, 5 goals in the first 11 and a half minutes. They win 3. They were up 3-2 at the end of 1. They end up winning 4-3 as Vegas, the only road team in either the NBA or the NHL to win Game 1 outright this go-around.
You threw me off a little there. I was like, wait, Toronto did win. They are a road team, but that was Game 2. So you are right. NHL now favorites, 8-2 so far. So we'll see what we have tonight. But Vegas dominated. Their power play was so good. And that's Mark Stone gets in there and scores within 1:30. I'm sure the league is very happy, and fans around are happy to see that.
Was that the lacerated liver or the lacerated kidney for Stone? What did he have? Or is it the spleen? I knew it was one of the internal organs. Lacerated spleen for Stone back, and look, none worse to wear, which, again, for Vegas, they get a healthy Mark Stone. That totally changes the handicap of that series against Dallas.
Might ruin our brackets as well, since we did do them Saturday before the news that he was fully coming back. It's all right.
It makes the path easier for the Rangers to get there for my 10-1 ticket there, Alex.
Well, let's look at some games today. Number 4 NHL games on the board. Unlike NBA, we have a wide spread here. Rangers, 265 favorite over the Capitals. Mm-hmm. We've got the Avs, Jets. That's a pick 'em basically. So we got a wide range here. We got good games as well, though, here in hockey. And we'll break those down. Yeah,
I'm the most intrigued. We'll get to them a little later, but I'm most intrigued to just see what Colorado does defensively after that mess in Game 1, where their offense was every bit as good as you would have hoped.
Yep.
But 7 goals in Georgiev, who, again, I still can't believe a team at that level has Georgiev as their number 1 goaltender. But Winnipeg's really good, as we've discussed. That is a really high-end matchup in the West. Number 5, 2 days away from the National Football League NFL Draft. Of course, Detroit, Michigan, the site. Right now, the interesting thing I would say, Jaden Daniels and Drake May, pretty well settled now, both in the number 2 and number 3 markets. Daniels minus 400 at most shops that are offering Drake May around 3. You're having to lay about $3, so minus 300 about on Drake May. There's one bet that I think is worth a little bit of a sprinkle. I'll tell you about it later in the show. That sound good, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll save that
nice
for later in the show. Yeah, hey, look, we got to do something with our starting 5 at 5. All right, let's get into it. Let's go to the NBA. Before we get to today, I just want to circle back to yesterday real quick, because the series prices are now obviously very different in the 3 series that have already played 2 games. Starting with the Lakers and the Nuggets, it's now minus 1,600 on Denver. That should probably be about minus 7,600 at this point. There's no way the Lakers can possibly win this series at this rate. They're up 20 in Game 2.
Correct.
I know that after the game, the Lakers were complaining about their refs. Both the Lakers and the Sixers were whining like crazy. That overturn on the D'Angelo Russell foul that was clearly a foul that they overturned and said, oh, Denver, ridiculous. But you don't blow a 20-point lead. You can't do that. And if you blow the 20-point lead, you better find a way to hold. Jamal Murray ends up putting the game away at the end by himself. And the Lakers just can't play Denver. We talked about this going into this series. The Nuggets have won, going into the series, 8 consecutive, including last year's Western Conference Finals sweep.
Yep.
Now we add another 2. We're up to 10 straight for Denver. There's no reason to think this won't get to 12 when this is all said and done. Maybe LeBron steals a game.
That's what I was
Which
gonna
is
say.
fine, which absolutely could happen. But just a death matchup for the LA Lakers against the Nuggets, and that happens from time to time, Alex.
You're right, and we've seen it, and you can't just ignore the outcome that we've had from these games. But I do think the Lakers will still win. Maybe this first one back in LA. We'll get to that tomorrow, though.
Oh, by the way, Jokic in the last 10 against the Lakers, averaging a triple-double. The other 2 series, I'm so disappointed in the Magic. They just look awful. They just look like they don't belong. And look, Cleveland's defense has been great in this series, and Banchero has been awful in part because of that. But this Orlando through 2 games, their high water mark is 86. Alex, I like to call it the Kobe line because Kobe, of course, scored 81. That's the line of like, hey, if you don't get to 81, that's a pathetic showing on your offense. They've barely crossed that line twice here. Banchero is shooting under 30%. The Magic as a team are at so far 36% their better shooting game. They just don't look like they belong. They're a small favorite in game number 3 a few days from now, 1.5-point favorites, which, Alex, I will bring this up. Everyone loves to bet first halves, and you'll see it in the market. First halves with teams down 2-0 playing their first home game. Orlando will more likely than not be a bigger favorite in the first half than they will be for the full game in this game.
I don't think I have any interest in
No?
Orlando. No, I don't. Maybe that's a great first half under, though, because I kind of teased this. But under so far, 9-2 in the playoffs, including the play-in games. We have 13-4 to the under, 8 straight, and first half 14-2-1, 7 straight. And the way these two are playing and the pace that we've had, I don't see how that can change. If you look back for the last 3 seasons, Jeff, first half unders are 73, 37, and 3 in the play-in and the first round in the last 3 years. So maybe that's an angle. I don't know. Are you interested in taking the Mavs first half?
The Magic, you mean?
I mean the Magic.
I don't know. I will tell you, when these games are played later in the week for these game 3s, these are on Thursday. The way that these will get bet, I can already tell you that the first halves will get hit. This always happens where everyone in the betting market goes, oh, they're going to play great in the first half. It does work.
Yeah.
It does work. It's more than a 50% clip on that. But I would tread carefully with Orlando. The other 2, maybe not. I think Philly's going to beat I actually will probably bet the Sixers to cover game 3 back home. But we'll see. Speaking of that series, it's plus 350 on the Sixers now, Alex. I'm sitting here with the minus 110 on the Knicks. Feel pretty good about it. I might come back and take a small piece of Philly. I don't know if Philly gets there all the way on this series. By the way, they're 5 in game number 3 on Thursday night, which I think that's perfectly fine to lay it if you want to. But this series feels a lot more even than 2-0. Philly should have won that game last night.
Yes.
And if it's 1-1, we're totally feeling different here. And probably the Knicks I would guess the Knicks would probably be back to minus 110 on both sides if Philly had won game number 2.
No, and I don't hate that at all. My dad always says you can't go broke by getting a profit. So if you hedge a little bit there, come in on the Sixers. But you're right. I mean, Philadelphia was the better team for most of that game. But I think what you said last week stands. I don't think they can beat them in a tough 7-game series. I think the Knicks just have too much depth.
It's the same old story with this Sixers team. It's Joel Embiid and the number 2, which this to go around is Maxey. And then, I mean, Tobias Harris turning into a mediocre NBA player really has hurt this team in a gigantic way. But it really is just, I mean, the way they blew that game last night. I know that Sixer fans are crying for a foul. No, Max, call the timeout immediately if you're Nick Nurse. Don't hesitate. Because if he calls that immediately, then Philly keeps the ball, and that whole last sequence doesn't happen. We don't get a Mike Breen double bang on DiVincenzo's shot, which, by the way, apparently only 6 of those, which is even rarer than a solar eclipse at this point. All right, let's go to tonight, Alex. Let's go to tonight because you seem pretty active tonight on these games here in the NBA, as we all expected with how little we bet the NBA during the regular season, Alex. Let's start with Minnesota and Phoenix. All right, let's start there. That's the first game.
Yes.
I was, of all the game one performances, Minnesota's was the one is like, okay, maybe I had the handicap of this series backwards. Maybe I did, because Anthony Edwards is pretty clearly the best player in this series. Now, there's an argument to be made that Phoenix could very easily have players 2, 3, 4 after that, but Ant was so far in front of everyone else in that game. Well, now look, first home game of a playoff series. This Minnesota team hasn't had home court in a playoff series since Kevin Garnett was a Minnesota Timberwolf. So it'd been a while. So I'm just curious here. 3, 211.5, which total, of course, a lot lower. We know these totals have been going under, even though they've been significantly lower than the regular season. Is this worth a look on Minnesota as a short home favorite yet again here against Phoenix?
I don't know. This one I actually lean towards Phoenix.
The dog?
I mean, they looked awful in that first game, and if you look at their rebounds, they were out rebounded 52-28. So if you're saying that Ant is the best one for the Timberwolves, and he kind of canceled that with Kevin Durant, right? Kevin Durant was great in that game. He didn't get anything else from his supporting cast. So I think if we can get more from those players, then I think the Suns will be in this one. It was bad. It was a no-show for the Suns. In Jeff Fogel's newsletter, he pointed out that they had just 3 offensive rebounds, Jeff. 3 offensive for an NBA team in an NBA playoff game. So that's not good. We're got to get a little bit more out of Phoenix in this one. And yeah, I may have had the handicap wrong as well. I did pick the Suns that they could win this series. So I think they'll be up for game 2 here. I didn't take it yet, but lean to the dog here.
It is, again, for Phoenix, this was the one where the Dallas Clippers series, which we'll get to game 2 a little bit later. It was a little bit more difficult for me to handicap because we didn't know what Kawhi was going to be. The Mavericks are a little more erratic, even though Phoenix has been super erratic this year.
Yes.
But look, this is just one of those where could Phoenix win this game easily? Of course they could. You still have Kevin Durant, who is not the same Kevin Durant. Devin Booker is there. Bradley Beal, who I barely even noticed was there in game 1. But this feels like, to me, that Minnesota, this feels like the turn the corner year for the Timberwolves, where Anthony Edwards has taken that next leap, where I think Ant is a top 10 player in the NBA now, where they figured out the Gobert thing now there. Towns is healthy. At least for this tournament now, as he got off that injury, and they have the right coach. There are a lot of good things. Maybe not this year. I don't think they can beat Denver in a 7-game series this year. One more good offseason. Minnesota could be one of those teams next year that takes another leap, and all of a sudden we're talking about the NBA Finals going through Minneapolis, which is something we've never said before in the history of the league.
Well, you can't argue with that, and this team has been very consistent. We talked about it all year. They had the 1 seed for most of the season. So they are very good. So it should be a great game tonight.
The other 3-6, Indiana, Milwaukee. Alex, this one, I really want nothing to do with this one now. Now, we talked about it in the open, the series price. Indiana, before some books that really went too quick on their numbers, put up bad numbers on Indiana that were over $2.
Right.
Which was ridiculous. That never should have been there. It was pretty well figured that Giannis was going to at least miss a game of this series, and the price was off. Giannis, I would be stunned if we see Giannis tonight, especially with Milwaukee winning game 1.
Agreed.
The Bucks are 1 tonight. The series price on this, Indiana, where did it go? Indiana is now plus 180.
Right.
Make it plus 190, I should say. And minus 220 on the Bucks to win the series. After what I saw from game 1 with Indiana, where, Alex, we have been reminded pretty starkly so far through this first few games of the postseason. Regular season, NBA basketball versus postseason NBA basketball. They're two different sports. In Indiana, who has built their team around, hey, we are going to outscore you,
Right.
that doesn't work in the playoffs. So I'm staying out of this game because Milwaukee's depth still terrifies me, and Doc Rivers is still the weaker coach in this series with Rick Carlisle on the other side. But Indiana's got to find something on defense because if they don't, even if Giannis doesn't play, this is going to be hard for Indiana to win this series.
I think the Pacers just looked intimidated. They looked scared starting out in that game one. So I'm kind of making a case for all road teams here in tonight's matchups. I mean, the Pacers, 98 possessions, you talked about it. So that is the scary part. They don't want that. They want to run and gun. They want to outscore you. But they really struggled. Besides Pascal, he was fantastic, 36 points. I mean, Halliburton only had 9 in that game. So I think we're going to get more from the Pacers offensively in this one. And you can't expect Dame to put up 35 every game. So if Giannis is still not in this one, it might be closer than we think. But I'm going to wait, see if I can get some in-game. Maybe if I can get 5 on the Pacers, I'll feel very comfortable, or somewhere around there.
Be an interesting look, in all honesty, where this series, again, I liked Indiana before it. Again, I don't want to overreact to one game. That's the one thing got to be a little bit cautious of here, as always with this in this 7-game series. But Indiana's got to find that defense. They got to find it. That effort in game one was bad all the way around from the Pacers. Play like the in-season tournament.
Right.
This team looked composed. I know Siakam wasn't there yet at that point, but they looked totally composed in that in-season tournament all the way through, running through group play, beating Boston at home, beating Milwaukee here in Vegas. They look composed the whole way through. We did not see that one bit in game one. They look composed. They look like the team we saw in the in-season tournament. Game on. Series on as well with Indiana and Milwaukee. All right, last of the NBA games tonight. Dallas and the Clippers. Alex, I'm going to let you go first here. Clippers a dog at home after smoking Dallas in game one to take a 1-0 lead. Mavs -1.5 at Crypto.com Arena tonight in LA, 216 the total.
Again, trying not to overreact too much from game one, but the Clippers were by far the better team in this one. They led 56-30 at halftime in game one. I think we see Dallas show up here. We've been talking about Dallas. I mean, they have been very good down the stretch. They are much better than what we saw there in game one. So again, leaning towards all the road teams here, and I don't even mind that they're a slight favorite even on the road.
This is the series that I have absolutely no feel for, in part because of the unknown status of Kawhi Leonard. I would be shocked if we see Kawhi tonight. Same sort of thing with Giannis, where you got the game. I don't think home court, I know it's been awesome so far. I don't think this is sustainable with these home teams just dominating in the NBA. But I don't trust the Mavs. I don't trust them at all. I have no idea what to do with this series. This is the most complicated series of all. With that said, what we saw with Oklahoma City in game one, where New Orleans, I probably should have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever wins this series probably deserves, assuming, especially if Kawhi is back for the Clippers, whoever wins the series probably should be favored against Oklahoma City in round 2. I don't know if they will be, but the Thunder, the same sort of mold as Indiana. They beat teams by turning them over, and they beat them by outscoring them. You're not outscoring anyone in the NBA playoffs with the way that it's gone so far, and especially with the way the games have been officiated, where they're letting a lot go at this point.
Could this be a good player prop game? I mean, maybe fade James Harden a little bit since he did have such
you don't think he's capable of two good ones in a row?
I mean, I do. I believe in the beard, but I'm guaranteed those are way too high at this point after that first game. So might be good under there, and then maybe the Mavs coming back on Kyrie a little bit.
Harden 19.5 on the point total.
It's not
so
crazy high. Yeah,
I juiced under. I don't think I'd want that.
Yeah.
If we got into the 20s,
yeah,
maybe, but not in the 19.5. I think that's just fine on that one. Hello, Jerry.
trying to sneak in.
No, look. I did that to Jerry. I'm going to do that to you all the time. I'm sorry. That's got to at least be. We got to have at least a gag on this show, right? There's something. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we're going on the ice. Stanley Cup playoffs, more game twos. And as Alex said at the starting five, big range of prices tonight in the NHL. 4 games. It'll start at Madison Square Garden when we get back on Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Thanks, Josh Ryan. Always love hearing that guy's voice. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. Happy to be with you as always. The show is officially started because Jerry's here now.
That's right.
No, it's officially. By the way, the Sonic trailer came out today, right? Did I see that correctly? Yeah, it's something on Sonic 3. So Jerry's going to be preoccupied the rest of the show. That's the back of our heads, by the way. That's the look into the studio as well. Ryan McCormick, can you see? Brian's hand is blocked, I think, by the pillar. Go that way. There we go. There's Ryan McCormick. We got him. There it is. Ann's to my left. Jerry's there. Drew Dog is nowhere to be found in the corner over there, as always. Oh, man. I will say this, Alex, we have an incredible team.
We really
have
do.
an amazing team.
And we actually like each other. We hang out outside of work, and it's pretty fun. It's great. But I will say, I have to bring this up before I forget. On Punchlines, you guys talked about those two competition. What game was it?
Oh, Mario
Jerry
Kart.
and Ryan have to play Mario Kart. I think we need to build that up and have like a big thing.
Well, I think we should just at some point on Frank's show, we probably could get away with it. I mean, that could very easily be, I'll bring the Nintendo Switch in. That could very easily be a live competition, right, Jerry? We could probably do that. Okay. Technologically speaking, we could do it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I think, again, I think I make McCormick the smallest of favorites. Right? That sound good to you? We're not going to do that to you. Don't worry. I'm not going to make you play a system that was created before you were born. Which, again, McCormick is absurdly young, as we know. All right, let's get back a little focused here. Maybe, I don't know. We could pull a Frank if we wanted to. But the Stanley Cup playoffs, 4 games. Let's start in New York.
We have to start in New York, yeah.
The Rangers looked so good in game 1. It was a slow start in the first period, but they looked great after that. The Caps looked every bit the part of being the worst playoff team we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Right now in game number 2, it's -270, 5.5 the total. I'll give you the floor first. I actually think there is an angle on this, even with
Do
that
you?
big price. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have an angle on this. That number is where I made it. I do think the Rangers are about 270 better than the Capitals here at home, too. I made it 5.93, a little bit lean to the over, but the way Shesterkin is playing, I wouldn't trust that in this one. The Capitals aren't terrible. They haven't really figured out their goalie situation. I mean, Lindgren's been okay, but I mean, compared to Shesterkin, you have the best goalie, and the Rangers are very deep. They've got the depth and good offensively and defensively. So unless you like the puck line here, Jeff, in game 2.
I like the over.
You do like the over?
I like the over. Why? Here's the deal in this series. If we can get Washington to 2 goals
Yeah.
in any of these games, if we're going to get dished 5.5s,
Yeah.
I think you should be looking at overs because that's the magic number in this series. The Rangers, I think, are good for 4 every game in this series. There's too much for this Capitals defense and goaltending scenario. If you give me 2, Washington, we get there. I think I feel pretty good about that, and especially since the over is the underdog in this spot, I think I'm okay with laying $1.05 at over 5.5 on that one with the Rangers and the Caps. I don't want the puck line. It probably is fine. Don't love the price on it more so than anything.
Might be a 4-3 final for the
Could
Rangers.
be. That would be great. That 7 is more than 5.5. I'm good with that, Alex.
I do like that angle, and that is I did take off about half a goal for my totals moving into the playoffs. So really, I mean, that would be more than 6 here. So I'm with you. Especially the Rangers have been an over team all year, and the Caps have been up and down. But down the stretch, much more of an over team. So they're going to need to score.
Tampa and Florida is the other East game today. And game 1, look, Florida was better, but the 3-2 final was indicative of how tight that game was for the majority of it after the first 12 minutes where Tampa looked like they were totally lost and then they found themselves.
Correct.
I still think there's a goaltender's advantage with Vasilevsky over Bobrovsky. I still think there is. Plus 155 feels good on the Lightning here in game 2, Alex. I think I would take a shot on that on the road in South Florida. I think plus 155 is worth a go on Tampa to win game 2 and not this series of 1 apiece.
It is tough. I mean, this is a great matchup. I think the goalies are pretty evenly matched with these two. Both veterans, both been here before. I was looking more at maybe first period over 1.5 goals, getting 1 from each of them, or waiting because, I mean, both of them are their biggest period of goals tends to be the third period. So if it's a very slow start, maybe wait and then get a better number on the total going over there. But it's going to be tough. The Panthers struggled down the stretch to get here to the playoffs a little bit, but now they look, watching that game, I was like, okay, what injuries? They look like their old selves again.
Florida had a weird last month.
Right.
But to their credit, their only loss the last 2 weeks of the season was an overtime loss to Boston. So they found themselves when the calendar, after a really awful effort against Montreal on April the 2nd, where they lost 5-3 and were clearly outplayed, they've been better. They've started to look like the team that was the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference for a majority of the regular season. But when it's, these two teams hate each other. We know this. This is, of all the first-round matchups, the one where it's like, all right, good old-fashioned hate here with these two teams. And again, I still trust Vasilevsky more than I trust Bobrovsky. I know that they were in a cup final. I know Bobrovsky got hot. And when he is hot, he is as good as anyone. But I still think Vasilevsky a little more consistent. We'll take the good price on Tampa Bay.
Don't forget
this one.
Some books have Will There Be a Fight? You can always bet on as well.
Stations always dishes that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Islanders Canes.
That got there yesterday.
Oh my gosh, I thought they were going to kill each other. I'm like, there's 2 minutes, you guys. You'll have another game. But yeah, that was pretty wild.
The first of the West games tonight. Colorado's now a small favorite against Winnipeg here behind us. 6 is the total now, juiced to the over. Alex, I'll just ask you on the total first, since we saw 13 goals in game 1. Is this just a classic regression to the mean spot, or are these offenses too powerful to even think about a regression to the mean spot here?
There's a lot of 6.5s out there already, and I do think it's going to keep climbing. I would not bet an under in a matchup with
Even at a
these
6.5?
Maybe I probably stay away. I
Okay.
do like the over 6 for these two, and it may be a regression to the mean. We might see that here soon, and this could be the one game that does go under. But I think majority of these games in this series are going over. And now the series price, you're getting a very good price on the Avs if you like them to win this. They are plus 130 now. You got to lay minus 150 with Winnipeg.
I'll just ask you on this because this series, I like Colorado before the series. I thought these were pretty dead even teams. The numbers still dictate, of course, Colorado is better in the power ratings based off of the way that these games have been aligned in Winnipeg. But I think at this point we have to respect Winnipeg as a top 2 team in the West at this rate. I know Vancouver took game 1. We'll get to them in a little bit. I know Dallas lost yesterday to VGK, but I think we're at the point where Winnipeg is a little bit disrespected in the market, even though, do I think Colorado comes back and win this series? Yes, I do. But that's just because Colorado is at the high level that they are as opposed to Winnipeg, who really darn good. It's just hard to beat this Avs team 4 out of 7 times.
You're so right, Jeff. It's really hard because we have Dallas that's up there. Vancouver's probably one of the lower ones in the West for me, mostly because of Demko going out for that time and not really getting that adjustment back up. But when Winnipeg snuck up to the top 10 overall, that's when I really started to respect them and their power rating, even though Colorado and Edmonton are slightly better than them because of their star power. But Winnipeg has the depth, and I think that's what people forget, and that's what happened with Colorado last year, where the Kraken won that first series because, they were also young and motivated and took advantage of a Colorado team that didn't have the depth that we are used to seeing, but they do have the star power, so they can grab a few wins, that's for sure.
Nashville and Vancouver, the last game of the night tonight. Nashville is the better team for 2 periods 2 days ago, and then Vancouver 2 goals in less than a minute, and that was the difference in the game. With the Canucks winning game 1 at home in front of that raucous crowd at Rogers Arena. Out in Vancouver, $1.55, 5.5. I'm not overly impressed with either of these teams. I think Vancouver was a regular season darling. They got a pretty good matchup, all things considered here. I think everything's priced right in this game. This is one that I will steer clear of, Alex.
I think if I can get a little bit more, if I can find plus 140 or plus 140, I think that would be a play for me.
Plus 140
with
or
Predators.
plus 145?
Yeah, it's because I have the Canucks minus 150, minus 149.
Okay.
Minus 149. So
Okay.
we've got a little bit there. So if I can get a little bit more with plus 140, plus 145, I'd take a shot with the Predators.
So right now it's fine. Don't touch it at these numbers. But if the Canucks get bet,
right,
you can get a plus 140, plus 145.
Yeah.
That would be a play.
That would be a play for
for
me.
Alex White on the Preds. And
Another tough one to go under.
this is, of all the West series, well, now that Stone's back, Vegas and Dallas is the most even matchup. Winnipeg and Colorado, pretty even as well, even though I still think Colorado's a little better. This is a pretty even matchup because the Preds will be probably favored in game 3 at home, especially if they lose game 2, right?
Yeah.
Smallest of favorites.
Maybe
Yeah.
pick them.
Yeah, minus 115
Yeah.
on Nashville. Series prices, Alex, real quick, going into a bunch of these series. Carolina's now minus 1,800 to beat the Islanders, I should say. Plus 950 on the Isles. Just don't think that's good enough, even though the Isles have been pretty good in this series, despite the fact that they've blown both of the games in Raleigh. They really needed to get one. If they gotten one,
Yes.
totally different handicap here. But Carolina's too good to blow games where they're not on their game, and the Islanders have blown both of them so far.
I was pretty shocked to see that comeback from Carolina, so that really tells you how good they are. But
Good hockey team.
the Isles made the mistake of just playing defense, trying to finish that game and win, and only one shot on goal in that third period, so that really hurt them. But if you had the under yesterday or the Isles, like you like to say, take a lap, because
Yeah,
that
that was
all
bad.
exploded
Oh,
in
it's
2
bad.
minutes.
That's Rex Byers' line. The Leafs and the Bruins. I'll just ask you this: some books have flipped. Chris and company of $1.15, minus 115 on Boston. I don't know. I think I'd only bet Boston at this point just because of the Leafs' history. But if Boston's going to insist on this, hey, we're going to just do what we did in the regular season and flip goalie every single game, I don't know if I like that in a postseason scenario.
Both goalies are really good, though. So you don't really have – I just think Toronto's really good. They were going to steal a game anyways. It just happened to be the one when Olmark was playing.
Yeah.
I really think so. I trust the Bruins more than I trust Tampa Bay. Even though Austin Matthews, he came in clutch. He had that go-ahead goal to get them this win.
You mentioned this earlier. Colorado's now plus 130, down 1-0. Is that worth a shot now at plus 130, Alex, to win the series?
Well, I have the Jets, I think plus 105 before the series started.
Not going to lock it in?
I don't
Sticking
know.
to your guns on the Jets? I would. Why not? If Winnipeg wins tonight,
Right.
then you're going to get a real nice price on Colorado. Then that might be the time to take a shot there. And then I'll bring this up. I'm not really intrigued on taking the Kings. Edmonton just looked significantly better last night than L.A. As high as plus 375 on L.A. now to win that series, plus 350 behind us. But now the most interesting one. Do you think Dallas at plus 135 behind us is worth a flyer now? I thought the minus 130 going into the series was a great price. Even with the loss in game one, I still think Dallas wins this series. But I don't know. Pretty even when it was all said and done, even though VGK was the correct side. Plus 135 on Dallas feels pretty good, though.
No, you're right. And I was really impressed with the Stars and their response to every goal that Vegas made, right? Vegas just couldn't hold a 2-goal lead because Dallas would continually respond there. I still think we have question marks in the goalie for Vegas because Logan Thompson is not necessarily supposed to be the number one, but Adin Hill hasn't been quite the goalie that we had last year to get them through the playoffs. So you definitely have the goalie advantage with the Stars and Ottinger. So, yeah, I think that plus 135 is worth a little.
Yeah, I would love to see Vegas win the series. But, again, Dallas and the Rangers are still the best teams in the NHL. They were the best teams in our conference for the majority of the years. But, again, if Mark Stone is healthy, which he sure looked healthy last night, this is
tired at the end, but
well,
that's okay.
his first game back, but he looked healthy. He looked healthy.
He did.
That is a totally different handicap on this series if Mark Stone is healthy. Because then VGK turns from probably the sixth best team in the Western Conference to being up there with everyone else in the conference. And that is not what you want if you're the number one seed in the Western Conference in Dallas.
Just like we talked about with NBA, though, I don't want to overreact too much because, one of the main concerns was these new guys that they just brought in before the trade deadline, they weren't really meshing that well to end the season. So to imagine that just snapped and they're going to go on this crazy run seems a little far-fetched. But we'll see. If they come out the way they did it in Game 2, then if they get past Dallas, that's their hardest obstacle, right? And then it's looking pretty easy for them in the West. Not easy, but a lot easier.
Well, again, that pod with Vegas falling into the Central pod, there's a legitimate argument to be made. The 4 best teams in the West are all in the same pod. And that would possibly mean advantage winner of Pacific because their run's going to be a lot easier than potentially, let's say Vegas pulls the upset in the series. Vegas potentially having to go Dallas, Colorado, Dallas,
right.
Winnipeg.
Right.
Woo, tough. Very, very tough. Would wonder how much is left in the tank, even if it were a Vancouver or an Edmonton. Edmonton a little bit different than Vancouver, even though they've had their problems loaded with talent. But that Central pod with Vegas falling in, very possible the 4 best teams in the West when it's all said and done ended up there.
That's a great point. You could make the argument that's what happened to Florida last year, right? They took down all the big teams in the East until they got to Vegas and then kind of ran out of gas. So I don't want to take anything away from the Golden Knights because that team was amazing as well. But yeah, a little bit of that.
Look, taking advantage of who shows up against you is a whole part of the thing, Alex. Vegas took full advantage of Florida's miraculous run to the final a year ago. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we get back a little bit of baseball to wrap up a Tuesday edition.
Don't forget your draft pick.
Oh, don't worry.
Okay,
I haven't
sorry.
forgot. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. Happy to be with you as always. Well, a few more minutes for us here today. I will throw this out there real quick because you are not going to get away with. You're not going to let me get away with doing this at the end. The bet I like in the NFL draft is I like Joe Alt to go number 5.
Okay.
Now, as always with this, you have to. It's not the best of the number. It's not the worst of it, but it's not the best of it. Best number I've seen this morning is 5-1. Where now it's a little bit complicated because what happens if someone trades up to 4 or 5 to take J.J. McCarthy, which I think is very much in play. I feel pretty confident at this point that Caleb Williams going number 1.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels going number 2. Drake May, whether it's to New England or someone that trades up, is going number 3.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about that. The betting market says that as well. Number 4, right now, the favorite to go number 4 is Marvin Harrison Jr. at minus 225. McCarthy's at plus 180. Those are the only 2 guys I possibly see going number 4. Number 5, if the Chargers keep the pick and Harrison Jr. is off the board, I think if the way that the Chargers are going to want to play, and everything's Harbaugh said, and we've seen from what Harbaugh wants to do, they're going to want to ground
Correct.
people or run people into the ground with their run game. And they already have a great left tackle in Rashawn Slater. Put Alt on the other side. Whew, that's a great tackle combination. And I think at plus 450, I think that's worth a little bit of a shot. Plus 450, 5-1 on Alt. I think that's worth a shot at number 5. Now, is that price for a reason? J.J. McCarthy's plus 240 right now, the favorite to go number 5. Makes sense. If someone wanted to trade up, Chargers could trade back, get some picks, take an offensive lineman later.
Right.
They could also hop in front of the Giants, who seem likely to take J.J. McCarthy if he's sitting for them at number 6. So, but I would look to Alt. I think that's the one down the board that you can take a little bit of a shot on if you wanted a number 5.
It'll be very interesting, and this is a perfect transition because we have a guest on Sports by the Book tomorrow to break this down even more with us.
Tomorrow on the show, we have Vegas Maddie will be in with us. Of course, runs one of the best proxy services there is here in town. We'll have him tomorrow morning. We'll also have Andy McNeil making his return.
Very good. Hockey.
Tomorrow morning. So we'll have hockey and football for the guests tomorrow. All right, baseball. Alex, steer the ship, my friend. Where are we starting here on a Tuesday in baseball?
Well, let's go ahead and start with the Dodgers.
Okay.
They are playing the Washington Nationals, who we have been, they're almost even, 10-11.
Nats have been better than expected.
Very much so. I think this might be a good spot to go against them, though. I did take the
The puck line, yes.
the run line
There we go.
with the Dodgers here in this one. I always wondered when that was going to happen.
Well, the Nats might be the Nats might be as good as the Caps in hockey at this point. So
Yeah, see the Washington. That's what threw me off. That's what it is. But I mean,
So I will ask you this real quick, Alex. Patrick Corbin has been a target of bettors for years now. He's the one who goes for Washington tonight. Plus 180 at home. Paxton, who, by the way, has actually made a few good starts in the state healthy, which is pretty miraculous for what Paxton has turned into. Is this just a, hey, the Dodgers are going to start playing? There's three things in this. The Dodgers could start playing better, for one. Even though they're still in first place, they're not as dominant as we expected.
they are not. You're right.
The Nats are going to regress because they've been better than we expected. Or is this just the classic, hey, Patrick Corbin's on the mound, and I just want to go against Patrick Corbin?
Honestly, you just summed it up perfectly.
So all three.
It's all of that
Okay.
combined. Very much so. I mean, I think that the Dodgers should be closer to minus 240 here in this one. So that
Okay.
made me lean to wanting to take the run line here. But yeah, Patrick Corbin has been a classic bet against.
It's been a great fade over the last few years. And not too bad of a fade so far this year, Alex.
No, not at all. But there's a couple unders that I am on as well. And I do want to get to the Mets and the Guardians.
Or the Giants, yeah.
The Mets and the Giants.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a very intriguing one with how well the Mets have played. And then we have Logan Webb on the mound for the Guardians. So any thoughts on this one from you first?
So this is one of the bigger movers today, both side and total for the Giants and the Mets. 7.5 on the open. We're now sevens
Yes.
across the board. The Mets have been hit pretty hard in the market. Behind us from $1.38 underdog, so plus 138 to plus 120. So 18-cent move in about 2.5 hours. Pretty significant move. I am a little bit perplexed by the market fading Webb the last two times out now. Because
Right.
Webb was awesome in his last start. We were on the Giants last week against Arizona when the market came in and moved and bet the Diamondbacks and the price moved 18 cents, kind of similar to this. The Mets are playing well. They did not play well last night. They got smacked on Sunday by the Dodgers. This would only be a look to San Francisco and Logan Webb in this spot. I don't think he's priced right again. This is the second consecutive start where the market's gone after him, and he is, to me, one of the 5 best pitchers in all of baseball. Forget just the National League, all of baseball at this point.
I agree. And I went ahead and took the under in this one. I was
Don't
trying
mind
to
that.
play the first 5 under, but I think it's 3.5.
Yeah, that's no good. That's too
No,
short.
too
4s
short.
you could play, but not 3.5.
Right. So I just went for the full game with having these two on the mound. And Severino has been much better than expected. Webb, though, 22 strikeouts to just 6 walks, and then Severino 21-9. So pretty good matchup between these two. I think under or the Giants is a good play.
I'm just going to bring this game up real quick because Ryan's guy, Jay Kuda, who's one of Ryan's favorite Twitter accounts, tweeted this yesterday. By the way, the White Sox is who I'm referring to, who are a nice hearty 3-18 to begin, or make it 3-19 now to begin the season. So a nice 16 games under in 22 games. The White Sox in 2000, there's a few things. Actually, there's multiple Jay Kuda notes. The White Sox right now, their team batting average is worse than Tom Glavine's was for his career. Tom Glavine, as we know, Hall of Fame pitcher, Alex White. And the White Sox have been shut out more so far this year than the Atlanta Braves have been shut out in the last 3 seasons.
Wow.
So it has been an absolute joke to begin the season for the Southsiders. They're a huge dog. Well, not as big of a dog as I would have expected, in all honesty, because Minnesota's best pitcher in Pablo Lopez is going tonight. Twins have been a disappointment as well. I'm not going to bet anything in this game. I just wanted to throw those out. The one thing I will say is if this total gets to 7.5, I don't mind it under. The problem might be that Minnesota could get to 8 on their own, Alex.
I think that is a great under. That is one that I threw in there as well. Eric Fetty, UNLV guy, he's on the mound for the White Sox. Hasn't been terrible. He hasn't been one of their worst pitchers here. So that might have helped that favorite not be too crazy. But I'm with you. I think under is the best play. I also like the Oakland A's and the Yankees under that total. The A's actually won one yesterday. They were one of the only underdogs to win. I believe all favorites won.
Yesterday,
The A's, and there was one pick'em.
Yesterday was the A's won in that first game of the day with that ridiculous ejection of Aaron Boone, 2 batters in. There was one pick. There was one game that was a pick,
Yes.
and then all the other favorites
All
won.
the other
And then
favorites.
yesterday, all but one under came in, and that was the Rays game, and that was number dependent because you got the right number, you pushed, but the late numbers went over by a half, landed 8, it was 7.5. So a great day for unders yesterday and a great day for favorites in baseball. By the way, you want one more White Sox thing?
Yes.
Okay. Chris Flexen, who pitched for the White Sox last time out, has thrown 19 2/3 innings so far this year. They've not scored a single run when he's been in the game in 19 2/3. The White Sox haven't.
Oh my God.
So he's gotten legitimately 0 run support in 4 appearances so far this year.
That is terrible.
It's
I think
horrible.
they're as bad as the A's were last year.
I think they're worse, personally. And there's no, it's not the same as the A's, even though who knows? I mean, White Sox ownership really wants that new ballpark in the South Loop of Chicago, and who knows? Maybe you can get some weird stuff. Maybe not Fisher trying to move the A's here, but who knows? Maybe trying to get that ballpark in ways that are not so savory, to say the very least. All right, one last one I want to bring up, Alex, that I think is okay here. We're going against Henry again for Arizona. I like the Cardinals. The market agrees with me on that. $1.17 to $1.28. Still think it's good on Steven Matz and company. And if this goes back to 8, which I don't think it will, over's good. At 8.5, still think it's okay on that. We're going to be going against Henry any opportunity we get here because significant drop-off from him to the other Arizona starters. And also Arizona seems to score when he's on the mound as well.
I don't mind that at all. Nothing for me in that game. My last one is just the Red Sox and the Guardians, which I was trying to bring up earlier.
Oh, it's the same pitching matchup as last week.
It
Lively
is?
against Houck, where Tanner Houck threw a Maddox last week against the Guards.
Oh.
He was pretty good in that game.
And these two, if you look at these two, they are combined 35 strikeouts to 3 walks. So I think that is a great spot for an under as well. I know it's already.
All right,
Yeah,
it's 8.5.
Okay.
It's got 8.5. Yeah,
Good.
you can do that. Remember, that's Ben Lively, not Blake Lively, going for Cleveland today against Houck for the Guards. All right, before we go today, a quick reminder tomorrow on the show, Vegas Maddie will be with us for the last 20 minutes talking NFL draft. We'll have our good friend Andy McNeil at the top of the show talking some puck tomorrow. We're looking forward to that. We haven't had Andy in a while, but we'll have earlier in the day, so better pricing on that for Andy and company, getting ready to go on that. Ryan McCormick and Frank Nicotero coming your way in 2 hours on Punchlines. Ryan, who does Frank have again on the show today? That's right. Chuck Esposito,
Nice.
our friend over at Stations Casinos, Red Rock as well. You know, talking draft, I will say you should bring up that Frank claims that the first time he ever went to Red Rock was on Saturday. Should bring that up. I don't think Frank was right on that, but that's okay. We're back tomorrow, normal time, 9 in the morning. We will see you then. This has been Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.